I am a co-founder of Adventurous Real Estate Investors. I do invest in real estate with my husband, and we are focused on multifamily syndications.
Currently investing in both mobile home parks and multifamily. From abroad, investing in multifamily syndications just like Susie, as well as mobile home park joint ventures, and working on a new development deal as we speak. So excited to speak more about that.
Actually, I have office in Dallas. We used to invest in Texas. It's been a very hot market, but it's not really a market that's conducive to our investment style. It precludes you basically to have to sell to make money because you have to buy at 4 caps basically in the DFW area. So we no longer even look in Texas. And like Susie, we're heavy investors in Oklahoma and also like several other markets as well.
My whole journey in real estate investing did happen while I was still living in England. So it wasn't like I started in the States and then transferred it. So it was all in England, and really like how the first deal happened, right? Because you have to create those relationships within the space. My husband and I, Michael, just made it a very big priority to continue to reach out and start those relationships. So because of that, and just with the long distance part, our first deal ended up being 88 units in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And it worked just because we were, reaching out to other syndicators in the space, showing up at meetups, continuously reaching out to brokers and lenders, just let them know that we were very serious about doing this, even though we were all the way in a different country.
Bruce, how'd you figure out Oklahoma?
People still ask me, why do you invest there? We really try to buy property that we can make money on by holding it. Most of the people that are probably interested in this conference are looking for passive income, long-term passive income. Well, flipping properties does not give you passive income. It gives you a chunk of money possibly if you do it right, but then you have to do something with that money to help make it create. I can't believe, Susie, you did it from overseas, and Hirsch, you're practically overseas. You're way out there on an island. That's crazy.
Yeah, the distance is really, if I take a flight there, right, it's probably my whole day would be a 12-hour day. But when you think about it like that, it's it's not that bad. If somebody leaves in the morning, they'll just get there a couple hours before me.
So are you still overseas?
I'll live in England for another year, and then we just don't know where we'll go next. But the concept though was that I wanted people to know that they could do it from anywhere, right? If you have
for sure. If that doesn't prove it, nothing does, right?
Yeah, it's just having the communication and then the systems and processes in place so that your team knows that, it doesn't matter where they are. They're checking in on me even if they're not here.
What gives you the courage to do a deal that's not in your own backyard? I see a lot of people say it's got to be close. I got to be able to go to the property and do things, but you're saying I'm trusting somebody else, a property manager or another partner in the deal to make sure that things go as they're supposed to. So why don't you feel like you have to put your hands on the property or be able to get to it in 10 or 15 minutes?
Something I do encourage everyone to do is if they're willing to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars of other people's capital into a market, sacrifice 2 to 3 days from your W-2, sacrifice a couple hundred to thousands of dollars to go visit that market, because you're going to want to know exactly where you're investing and why you're investing there. So I will say, doing it from long distance is good, but you need to have an initial foothold.
Yeah, I totally agree. People shouldn't take the comments of, hey, you can invest anywhere as willy-nilly, let's just go invest. You have to do your research. You have to figure out, things that we target. Like I said, we want to be able to get there by a direct Southwest flight. That's actually a pretty good filter, because Southwest, guess what, is a business-focused airlines. And so if they're flying there, it's probably a pretty active business market.
Really want to know them. It's the whole, we all say in this, your investors have to know, and trust you, but it's a whole different level, I think, for your partner. So for us, actually, our boots on the ground originally was somebody that Michael went to the Air Force Academy with. And that was huge, right? Because they had gone through this whole other life period together, and he had known the area. But then because of that, once we established where our market was, people were giving introductions to bigger syndicators. And one of them ended up becoming an organic mentor. And so when you have somebody who has a really great pulse of it, the trust forms that way.
Our team likes to utilize weekly meetings. It's like a Monday sync and a Friday what we can improve on type thing. So Monday we just hash out our goals with all the property managers that we utilize as third party within each of our markets, and just have a quick 15 to 30 minute debrief on what we're expecting for that week, what we are expecting out of them, and what they need to do. We're not checking with them daily because that's extremely time intensive and that's another job. Being able to have that Monday and Friday sync allows us to better hone in on what the goals are for the property and keeping track of what needs to be done in order to get it stabilized, potentially refinanced out or sold, depending on the investment strategy and the exit.
One of the first things we did, even before systems and processes, is that, so because I'm heavily involved in syndications, like I just even asked the property management company if they knew what that was, and they had no clue. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, let's kind of explain like where my train of thought comes from when I'm asking you all of these questions. So like along with our weekly meeting, because we have that every week for an hour, like we use Asana, and that's just a project management software tool. We use Asana because I want everything in one place. And accountability, like one of the biggest things, it's asking those questions, like if something doesn't get complete, then it's saying why. And if they can't answer, then you need to find somebody who does, because it's hard, especially if you only have like one property manager, on site and one maintenance guy. Like sometimes they can get comfortable with each other and then they don't, I guess they feed off of each other, and if they become too friendly, then it's like, oh, well, it's not a big deal that I only did X this week. And it's like, no, it's still a big deal.
I think there's a really good balance, and this came up kind of tangentially. I have a hard time saying that, but earlier, there's a balance between hands-on and too hands-on. You don't want to be a remote owner and hands-off. I already talked about that. That's very dangerous to the long-term prospects of your investment. But you also don't want to take the other extreme on that spectrum and be too hands-on.
I don't want to have to be the one to go call 5 to 7 local lenders, as well as different Freddie and small debt type shops, to be able to give me what I need. And so by giving my profile to the one individual who can then go shop that around for me, it makes it a lot easier and a lot more beneficial for my situation. For example, the property that we closed on in Indy last year, I had actually moved out of the area. I had moved to, Hawaii. My partner moved to Florida, and the other ones were long distance. The requirement of one of the banks was that someone had to live there, so we had to end up pivoting, out of that lender and into a different one. So I think it's just about understanding.
How many are there? Is there a trend up or down? How many are the maintenance guys doing a day? What is the average time to close out a work order? And you can do that by category. There's some harder work orders than others. Replacing a blind, okay, that should be a matter of minutes. Some issues can take, days or even weeks to resolve.
What systems and platforms do you use to store data in the event that you do change property managers?
We back up everything to Google Drive and Slack. Susie mentioned Asana. We use Slack and Asana, depending on what the property manager and our team is more comfortable with at the time. And every single document, we have a shared drive that we utilize internally, not with our property management, to keep track of all those metrics that are being downloaded that we can access from the owner system that the property manager has.
Bonuses are really important. They don't have to be substantive huge. Again, if somebody's making $35,000, $40,000 a year, $1,000 bonus, $5,000 bonus is really important to them.
Something that we will give those bonuses off of is delinquency, right? Because they're not going to put their own money to make the delinquency go down. Fudging it that way would be pretty intense, but that enables them to go and talk to the residents about paying or a payment plan, which is pretty hard to do, right? Depending on who their resident is, having those conversations is not exciting, but then it also enables them to ask more questions, do you need to sign up, for federal funding, Restore Hope?
So much is done talking about finding deals or the first deal or this, but not enough on what happens after that. And so this was awesome. And I can see you guys enjoy it and passionate about it. And I think that's what's great to watch.